Well, everybody, this is Grumpy Dave's garage. Shoulder's a little stiff today. I didn't bother to turn the camera on with all the grinding, sanding, and compressor running. Because by the time I muted all the sound, you couldn't hear me anyway. It'd just be a plain. Anyway, start over on this side. Gonna shave the body lines off. Gonna get the contour where I want it, and then I'm just gonna, when I do the flooding of the compound, I'm just gonna flow right over it and sand it down so it's just a smooth curve all down both sides. And what I did was knock off the high spots and the edge, because I use the edge for my alignment. There's a big dent up here I just kept putting the leftover stuff there. Same thing up here. I didn't even bother to sand this yet. It's almost where it needs to be. It'll be covered up. I missed one. Mommy didn't miss it. That's her red pencil on there playing school marm. Now come out here, looking totally different. Later this week I got to get down there with the pliers and the hammer and stuff and get these vents straightened out, because this thing was twisted 180 degrees from one end to the other. It was just a mess. He was going to throw it in the scrap pile. I said no, throw it in the car. It was been hanging up there ever since I brought the car home. So finally I got it down, did my thing. I got a body line right there. See, she gave me a C minus. You can see all the stuff she wants redone. She's a hard act. Okay, this one here is got a low spot here. See it? You can see the impression. And then I got to sand this down a little bit, fix the contour, fill this, sand this, so I got a contour, and then I'll radius this again. See, it's nowhere near. See, there's a line there. It's nowhere near. This has basically been left over, so I'm not wasting it. But I need to get some fiberglass resin mixed in it, so I can come in here and just start floating this stuff out after I get the low spots in. Okay. Well, again, I want to take these lines out. I'm working on it. If that one up there works good, I'll just do the whole car. If not, I'll just grind it off. Now this is the quarter we were talking about. This is leftover Bondo again, smeared on there just to keep from wasting it. I welded to that there. I got to put a couple welds in there and grind that off. This is where the accident was. Something hit this car, or they scraped something down here. Because right here's you can feel it. Okay. And it coincides with this metal was hammered back into place. You can see it. That was a marker light. I don't want them. See, here's some rust repairs and stuff. I need to get some fiberglass resin in those, and then lightly sand it off before we do the skim coat up. That came out good. My cardboard mock-up is right there. Okay. It looked good on here. It answered a lot of questions. We're going to do away with these lights. Who wants backup lights aimed up? Not me. So what I'm going to do is an old trick I used to use, and go up underneath the car, we got a bracket right here for the exhaust. It'd be perfect to bolt it and put an LED driving light, a smaller one, up underneath here with the switch on the dashboard. So when you hit reverse, it'll light the ground up. The ground, not up in the air, the ground behind the car. And it'll give it that smooth look. So I don't lose my light if I want to use it. So I cleaned out the bumper spots for the weld. I don't know what to clean, what I'm doing over here yet. Just to clean metal is just a waste of my time. I think tomorrow I'm going to cut these out and grind them. I'll get one of the marker backup lights out and use the thing to make my pattern. And then I'll get my hole punch out and just punch holes in it. Push it in there and get the welder out and just do the welds. And then weld around it. Grind it off. And it's done. It'll take a little bit of time to make those. That'll be a good project for tomorrow. I'm trying to fill the time in because the rain is starting to leave today, supposed to, and tomorrow. I need it to dry out so I can use the plasma cutter outside where the ground is wet and it's raining. Is not a good idea. Play with electric in the water. So we're going to wait for it to dry up. Saturday is going to be about 75 and cool. Be perfect. I want to cut the panel I need for repair out of the car. I got to cut the door hinge, literally cut the door open with the body's tweaked and that lock is jammed. I told him, he was trying to save the door. I said, don't worry about saving the door because I'm only wanting everything inside the door. The bottom of it's ate off. He said, no problem, Dad, and he'll whack it right out. I wonder why it took him so long to get the other one off. He was trying to save the door. And then we're going to cut the cowl just in front of the windshield wipers, straight across and back and down. And cut the two sides pieces. And I'm going to lift the dashboard and everything out in one piece and bring it over here. And when I'll put it up in a safe place, and when time comes, I'll throw it up on that bench over there. I'll remove the dashboard from the cowl, put the dashboard up overhead till I get a chance to work on it, and I'll put the cowl probably in the room behind me. Just if everything else is piled in there, just get it out of my way for right now. So right here, we got this done. We did the measurement stuff. We got the key welding spots cleaned. Like I say, I didn't clean these because I'm not sure how the metal's going to mount up, weld up, or touch this. Just grinding stuff off of metal that you got to protect from rust later is kind of mute to me. The new panel will come down, even with this one. Okay. Now this one had that black paint on it. I don't think they sanded the car very good because it must have had a lot of scratch marks in it because they came back over with some hardener and must have put 4 or 5 coats on it to get it to flow out. It's the only thing I can think of because when I get down to it, the prep work on the fill is not very impressive. It wasn't primer before they put paint on it. Whatever. I got a whiskey dent right here. We did that after I bought the car loading it, so I got to get down in there with my little short-handled hammer and knock that back down so I can get some work done on it. Marker light that I took off. See, a touch of rust, some fiberglass work. And then, so here's my stitch welds. Someone says, well, how come you just didn't go all the way around it? Well, you weld between them and it held the thing in place. And then I come back after it cooled down, weld above it, brought the weld across the bottom weld. It was in the seam and welded onto this. It was 1, 2, 3. 1, drag number 2, 3. And you can grab a hold of it like I did and try to jerk the car up and down and do everything to tear it off. It didn't budge. So I've got good penetration, and it's a strong weld, and it looks bigger than it really is because the stuff hung on it. Then it's going to be technically, like right here, it's going to be behind it. You're not going to see it. Makes no difference. I could grind it. Someone says you could grind it, you can do this. Why? I'm removing metal, so I'm removing strength. And this is what I wanted. Now, theirs come down to here. And when the boss came out, that's the wife with the shop foreman, Miss Gabby, my four-legged co-partner in crime, informed me that this had to be extended, and she wanted that one to roll with the rocker panel. Oh, yeah. She remembered me back in high school building cars and racing cars, and we dated back in high school before, and later we got hooked back up and got married. It's nice to have someone understand my drive for this. So what I did is I ordered not 1 but 2 gallons of my USC, I think that's what it is, Bondo. I like the way it went on. So I got this metal clean. I took 80 to it. Down here I got to hammer this up before I can do any more cleaning. So this fabrication work will get done when I start the fabrication on the tail panel. And after the tail panel is tacked in and welded in, it comes right up to, I got a piece of cardboard. This is the metal. Comes right up to there. So I get the pleasure of welding that. I'll probably just spot weld it at first, and it gets welded to this. Just being this panel here and this sticking out up in there, it's going to be kind of hard to get a good weld with my MIG. I may have to get out my buzz box, and I can bend the welding rod and get up into the angle I need and run this bottom bead. Because once I flex it to get it where it goes, I'm going to need to, I wish I had some clamps, but I'll make do. I'll push it in place and stick it, the welding rod up in there, and burn a couple tacks on it when it's all lined up. See, it comes down like this, okay, across here. Then it's going to be curved around, and then the piece on the tail light comes straight across, and it comes down. What I do with it? Get my notes here. 4 inches across, 6 inches down. So it's 6 inches down, 4 inches across, and it comes down like a V on both sides. To accomplish that, again, I went back to the parts car and donated up some more metal. All these measurements are wrong, so I'm going to have to hit it with some primer, a light sandpaper, remove the T-strip. I want to cut the top piece off and keep it because I want to lay it back down flat and weld it back on so the tail light sits on it. Because whatever this thickness is here is the thickness that this has to be. So this is only, say, 4 inches. This could only be 4 inches down to 6. Huh. Yeah, that's right. 4 inches down to 6. The taper down. And this panel will come over, and then it'll just roll with the body. Someone says, where are you going to get the roll from? I'm looking at it. This deck lid, trunk lid, because I'm reusing that one at the wife's request. This one needs some work, but underneath it's got, the supports are better. That one needs some work on the supports. I got the pieces in here to weld in there to make that one 100%. So this one's going to give up its metal and stampings to improve a couple things. Don't ask about the hood. I have no idea. I'm going to have to put a block in there. The height of the intake I want to use, put the hood down to see if it's going to touch, and go from there. We're going to throw the LS tall boy back on it, hook up the wiring harness and all that stuff, throw the computer on it, plug it back in, do a little wiring to the fuel pump and stuff, to the fuse panel, and start engine up. This thing will run. It was running on the engine stand when I bought it. When I opened it up for the oil pan, okay, it was very clean inside. It's quite impressive. Had a little bit here, a little bit there, but basically, even in the oil pan, it was pretty. Whoever had it serviced the engine regularly. So, usually you end up pulling the oil pan off. And if you don't find metal, you find it caked in gunk and everything else. So I got a strong run engine from Jason Brown. He's out of New Lex, I think it is, Ohio. He's on the internet, does LS engines. He'll tune, help you with your swap, and he's built himself an engine test last time since I've been down there with the radiators and coolers and everything, where he can fire your engine up and let it run to its full operating temperature while you're standing there. He sells a good product. It's not sitting on the grass saying, yeah, this is a good engine. He shows you what you're buying. He's fairly priced, and I found him to be reputable to work with. He's helped me with several little things. One of these days, I got to get down there and say hi and show him the latest photographs of my bear. This is a simple fix for the metal. It's got to wrap around. No big deal. Fix that tomorrow. Fix this tomorrow. Do a little more cleaning tomorrow. This will take a while to cut these and drill them. Oh, come think about it. I got my punch over there I bought. I haven't used it yet. Let me see if I can get a good... So you can see where they hammered this back out. Where they creased it. I cut out the bad part of the crease on the fender well lip when I did these, and I was afraid to open this up. I found them with screen wire in them. I found them with silver tape in there underneath the Bondo. I found about everything you can imagine under it, and whoever started this work was a good metal worker. That's a good job. That is a good job. It held some moisture in there, so this is from the inside. I'll have to double check it from the inside with a bright light. I think some fiberglass and some anti-inhibiting rust spray and some fiberglass and stuff in here is what this is going to call for underneath the Bondo. That right there. Gonna have to be tapped down and lightly sanded. I gotta stitch weld that, give a little. So here's the old chrome strip stuff. Here's where the marker light used to be. I just don't like them. So that's what we got done today. Hopefully the stuff comes in soon, or the weather gives me a break. I need that metal off that other car so I can start fabricating. And while I'm fabricating, I should have the Bondo here, and I can start doing the contours, the final contouring. I'm doing the contour first. I'll give you an example. This will get like a 2-inch fill, and then it comes up to 4-inch. You'll get 2 at 4-inch, nice and thin, okay? And then this will taper up to 5, and it'll taper down. And the last one that I got to do is a 6. A 6 goes from up here to down here, and feather them in. Each one will get sanded. I'm trying to keep the shape so I can keep working on it. So I shape it with the filler, and then I lightly sand it. I don't go hog wild. I'm just trying to knock off the ridges and the lines because I'm using this as my guide. So I don't need a bunch of junk on it. And like the one up front there, you see the one up front? See how nice that is? That'll just, like I'm saying, I showed you, I got the low spot to take care of. And once the low spot's taken care of, and I got the contour, then I'm gonna put another coat on that one and sand it down and make it ready to go. And then the one on the other side already matches this one. It just needs a single coat and a light sanding. And then when I get done with the front valance, from the doors all the way around, it's ready for its flood of body filler. I want to do the rear half of the car first and then work the rockers. The last thing I want to do, because it's going to be very time consuming, is these doors are nasty. There is so much. Let me see if I can't move some of this stuff around. Roll over here real quick. See that all the shiny spots are the low spots, and I haven't even see. Look at that. It's going to take a lot of sanding and a skim coat and some more sanding, and then I got to do my little trick thing here to fill this in, because it actually comes up to just below the doorknobs, and then it'll come back. That is if we do it. I'm waiting to see how that front comes out with the next layer. It keeps wanting to shrink. Maybe I'm not putting it on fast enough, or it's the nature of the Bondo filler I'm using. Don't know. Maybe it's because I'm adding a little fiberglass resin to it. It flows nice, but it'll shrink down a little bit more when it dries. I like the way it works. My final on the fronts, before I sand it and flood everything, is going to be one with the fiberglass resin. Get a nice smooth coat on it, and then just coat everything. And I've been watching Bad Chad, how he sands a car. Quite impressive, to be honest with you. I've learned a lot of stuff watching him. I've refreshed my mind and reminded me a bunch of stuff I used to know, because it's been 50 years since I was in a body shop. That's about before I just got married, and I had to give it up just before I got married, because the lacquer paints that we were using and wiping the cars down with lacquer thinner and letting them dry before we rolled them into the paint booth was just tearing me apart. I came home every night all flushed red, skin was red, itching, coughing, hacking. Sounded like I was coming down with pneumonia or something by Friday. And by Monday, I was okay again, and I went back to work. That didn't last very long. I loved the work, but now all these materials they got have opened up a new game plan for me. People, that's where we're at. We'll get the camera set up. I'll get these cut and ready. And then I'll get the punch out, show you the punch. We'll get them welded in on camera. Maybe even touch it with a grinder a little bit. So I still got to grind this off. And I got to open this up and look in here. I got to go there and look. I don't know if they've hammered this out or that is a line where they've welded. I can't tell. Whoever's metal work was excellent. Whoever's prep for the body work and the paint sucked. It was like they didn't bother prepping the car or wiping it down before the painter started. There was dirt on these ridges down on the headlights that I used a 40 grit slow turning wheel. When I ran it down through there, it was just stripping the dirt out, and you could see that the dirt was still under it. You could brush it off. I'm like, what the hell? So it's all gone. So here's another one. I'll go around and deal with all this before we start Because it's going to take a couple days just to prep this panel to get it to curve in here. Then once it's welded, tack welded in, I go to town welding it. People, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Oh, you can stand right here. See those shiny spots? That's where the door is low. They must have used a grinder on this thing to prepare it for paint. I'll have to get that. I'll have to get it sanded smooth and then flood it. Like, subscribe, and